Let's start. The plan for today is the following. For those who are not familiar with robotic process automation, we'll make like quick reminder, and I will explain what is the difference between robotic process automation and intelligent process automation. Then I will talk about the processes, what processes and in what order is the best to robotize. Then we will move on to key success factors of intelligent automation. Then I will also talk about the benefits of robotization and how to avoid the most common mistakes and traps during robotization processes. And of course, we will have a Q&A session, question and answer session. So in your Zoom, you should see the icon with on the bottom of the screen, the icon with Q&A letters. There you can ask the questions, and we will answer all of those questions at the end of the webinar. The webinar will take around 40 to 50 minutes, and then we'll have around 10 to 20 minutes for questions. Okay, so let's move on. For those who are not familiar with robotic process automation, firstly, I would like to show you how the robots works. And on this video, you can see on the right there is a software which we are using for robotization. In this particular case, this is UiPath. This is most popular robotic process automation software. And on the right side, you can see what kind of actions robot is performing. So our software robots are working on the user interface, and the main goal is to do exactly the same what the operator of the application is doing. So the robot is clicking buttons, filling text fields, moving some data, copying data, and so on. So the first question, what is the robotic process automation or intelligent process automation? So there is a small, not even small, there is a difference between intelligent process automation and robotic process automation. Intelligent process automation, in simple words, are the robots with some cognitive features. With cognitive features, we mean, for example, intelligent OCR, which is intelligent optical character recognition softwares, and those like more intelligent robots are capable of making some more complex decisions using more complex algorithms or even artificial intelligence algorithms or machine learning algorithms. So in this context, robot from our perspective means software that imitates the operator actions. The robot software is mostly operating on the UI of the application, but not only. We are also building robots. We are also able to use APIs, databases, and some background actions. The second thing, what robotic process automation is not. For sure, this is not programming language, and our robots are not directly related to industrial robots or mechanical robots. And this technology, for sure, it's not only for geeks. Quite often, some business users with only small technical background are also able to build their own robots. For sure, software robots are not for everything, and those robots are not able to guess your thoughts. So during the implementations, we need to to create each step that robots should perform. Of course, we are able to build like extended trees of decisions, but we need to have well described path of the algorithm. And of course, those robots are not related to Terminator or any other scary robots which are known from sci-fi movies. Before we will implement our software robots, we suggest to consider other technologies and other techniques. As I said before, robots can be really complex, but robots are not for everything. If there is a chance in your company to use other technology, we should consider it before using the robotization. So what if not robotization? First of all, we should think about digitalization of the process using electronic documents, web forms, ERP systems, or CRM systems. Then we should think about automation through our main systems in our company. Then we could also consider workflow systems and business process management applications. Then we can also think about other applications, plugins, extensions, or office applications. And before robotization, we can also think about the redesigning of the process using the Lean or Six Sigma methodologies. And if with some particular process we are not able to use any of those techniques, then the process might be good candidate for the robotization. So now let's discover a little bit deeper the power of robotic process automation. In Mindbox, we are not working only with one type of tool. We are not working only with robotic process automation software like UiPath. For most of our processes, we are using also other softwares, other technologies, and from our perspective, it is worth to consider during the robotization other technologies like OCR, which I've meant it's optical character recognition. Using this software, we can digitalize and structurize the paper documents or PDF documents. We can work on invoices, insurance forms, other types of forms, orders, emails, or more complex documents. Then we can also use some more complex techniques like AI. From our perspective, it's mostly machine learning models and algorithms. We can use those technology for data analysis, object recognition, some solution recommendations, search within the documents, or understanding the context of the documents, or for example, of the emails. And the last package, the last box which we are using is robot itself. Which is able to work on ERP systems, CRM systems, web applications, email, Excels, also legacy systems based on terminal or DOS operating system, and so on. So when we are talking about the robotization, we are not talking only about the robots operating on the user interface, but also the AI and OCR softwares. Why we are using robots? First of all, using the robots can help to reduce the process cost, and then we are able to increase the quality of the process, because robots are making less mistakes, and when the robot is well designed and well implemented, it doesn't make any mistakes. Then using the robots is easy to scale up the process. From robot perspective, it's not the issue to process 100 transactions or 1,000 transactions. It's really easy to scale it up. Then we can also use robots to accelerate the processes. But I think what is the most important thing, using robots can free up time for creativity and development of human teams. So robots are doing the most boring jobs for the humans. So people have more time to be creative and to develop skills or to develop the companies. So next step is what processes are worth to be automated. So now I will tell you about some elements which we should consider before starting the robotization of particular process. First of all, we should consider highly manual and repetitive processes, which means the processes with high volume of the transactions, and processes which are quite frequent, which are running daily or weekly. Then the good candidate for the automatization are the rule-based processes. So we should consider processes with well-described instructions and well-described steps. Then for the automation or robotization, the good process for this type of software are the processes with standard readable and electronic input. So quite often we've got processes with high volume of the transactions, or processes which are rule-based, but at the beginning the input is, for example, on the paper. The best example is, for example, in invoicing. I will show you one case with invoicing in a couple of minutes. So the biggest challenge is firstly in this case, to digitalize documents and to structurize the documents. After that, we've got the standardized input of the documents. Also important is high volume of the transactions. The next step, the next factor is the low exception rate. Even if we've got a lot of exceptions in our process, but those exceptions are well described, is still fine for us. But the lower exception rate in the process, the better for us. Good candidates for the robotization are also the processes which are mature and stable in the organization. When we are considering some process to be automated, when we are thinking that the particular process in the company is a good candidate for the robotization, we can go through this kind of flow and ask ourselves couple of questions. So let's say we've got some example of the process, and we would like to answer the question if it's a good candidate for the robotization. So first question we should ask is if the process is highly manual and repetitive. If no, we should apply process improvements? If yes, then we can move on and ask next question, if the process is rule-based. If no, then again, we should apply some process improvements. If yes, let's move on. Then we should ask if the electronic input is readable and well structured. If yes, then let's move on. Next question is if the input is standardized. If yes, again, let's move on. Is the next question if we have low exception rate in the process? If yes, again, we can move on. Next question that we should ask is that if the processing method can be changed. If the processing method can be changed, then we could consider implementing self-service. If no, then let's move on. If then we are asking if the process has high volume of the transactions. If no, then we should investigate some potential tactical solutions. If yes, then we can go to the next step and ask next question, if the manual automation will improve the process. If no, then the last question is if the deep system changes are required. If no, then we should implement the robotic process automation. So as you can see, the work for the questions which we should ask are quite detailed, but it will help us to pick only those processes which are really good candidates for the automation. There are a couple of departments within each company which theoretically could be automated. So the first department is HR and HR services. I think the most popular department is F&A, which means finance and accounting. From my experience, I can say that actually most of the processes are done in this part of the company, of the business. Then the also good part of the company operatings is supply chain, and we can also consider some processes in IT services. When we are thinking about the processes within the company, we can consider two dimensions of the processes. The first dimension is benefits, and we can have low or high benefits, and the complexity of the process, which can be also low and high. And when we have the long list of the processes of the potential candidates for the automation, firstly, we should pick those processes which can give us the high benefits and the complexity of the process is pretty low. We call it quick wins. The second approach is to pick processes with lower benefits, but still with low complexity, and those processes are called low hanging fruits. Then, when we will have all of this simple process already automated, then we should consider processes which are pretty complex, with high complexity, but the processes which can give us also high benefits. And lastly, we should consider those processes which can bring us low benefits and have which have high complexity. What are the key features of successful RPA implementation? First of all, the cultural adoption. We should have some executive level RPA sponsor. We should have on our side some leader who will help us to implement processes within the company, and we should also have some dedicated change management teams. Then the second factor is the IT engagement. Our customers are quite often asking us if the robotization ideas are coming from IT or business. It's not easy question, because the answer is it's something between. The robotization is between IT and business. But to implement robots in the company, for sure, we need to have some engaged IT representatives. Then we should think about in-house RPA capability. So for sure, the robotization within the company, it's more like strategical decision. It's not like small process. When we are and we would like to be successful in robotization, for sure, it should be strategical decision. And the last element is appropriate process pipeline. And when we are working with our customers, before starting to implement particular processes, we are trying to build a long list of the processes, the long list of the candidates, to check and to assess how long the pipeline within the company can be. Because if we will create the list of the 10, for example, 5 or 10 potential processes, it might be not enough to implement the complex RPA program within the company. And when we are building such a funnel, such a pipeline of the processes, first we should create the long list of rough ideas. We can to build this kind of list, we can use some brainstorming sessions without. The first step is without assessing the ideas. The main goal of the step is to build the long list of potential ideas. Then we are for each candidate, for each process, we are asking more detailed questions, and we are building a short list of good process candidates. Then we are filling the process questionnaire, which gives us answer for questions, for example, how many transactions we've got within the process, how complex is the process, how many applications we are using in this process, and so on. So after these steps, we should have a short list of the processes, but those processes should be already good candidates for the robotization. Then we are working on the documentation for each process. For example, PDD documentation, which is process design document. Then we are developing the process, and the last step is to run process on the production. So as you can see on this funnel, really important is to have at the beginning pretty long list of the processes, because with each step of the funnel, the number of the processes is decreasing. Now I'd like to tell you a couple of things about why robotization projects fails. We will consider four elements. The first thing is process. So what can go wrong? First of all, poor process selection. For the processes, we can pick, for example, processes which are not rule-based. Then we can consider processes with unstructured inputs, which are impossible to automate. Then we can pick the processes which are working on unstable or unreliable software applications, which will cause instability of the robots. And also processes itself can be unstable, or for example, persons who are responsible for the processes can implement some changes within the processes, so robot will not be able to work on the process properly. Then we can pick for the automatization processes which we don't fully understand, or processes which are not well optimized or standardized for robotization. The second element are people, and here we can also consider internal and external factors. Internal, within the organization there can be a lack of understanding or a fear of unknown. Then within the organization we can have some security policies or other type of policies, and for example insufficient stakeholder involvement, which what sometimes happen that within the company we can meet some moral issues because people are afraid of robots at the beginning, but I can ensure you that after first implementation of the robots, people are really engaged, and people are sending by themselves some ideas for the robotization, because people see how robots are helping on daily basis. And as I said, we can also have some external factors. For example, our RPA partners will not have sufficient skills for the implementations. RPA partner might not be able to scale up with demand, or someone said that our savings after robotizations will be pretty big, and after first implementation it happens that those benefits are not that big as we supposed at the beginning. The next factor is strategy. Next element is the strategy. For example, there is no leader within the organization who are supporting the robotization. Business cases might not be well defined, or may not be well propagated. We can also have some issues with IT. That's why it's really important to engage IT departments at the very beginning of the robotization processes. Then we can have lack of robust operating system, or incorrect prioritization, or lack of an overreaching roadmap. And the last part is the technology. There might be incorrect tool selection. For example, we can select the robotization software which is not able to work properly with our software. So it's really important to test some tools before making the final decision. And at the beginning, I also told you about some alternatives for robotization, and it may also happen that it's better to, for example, to use some API or integration between softwares. It's better to use it. It's better to use those kind of integrations and not to use robotization. There might be also some security or access control aspects. Infrastructure might not be scalable. Technology roadmap is not taken into consideration, or we can also have some issues with development, test, or production environment. And what I can also tell you from my experience, it quite often happens that there are some differences between development and production environment, which can also cause some issues, because we are implementing our robots on the development environment, then we are testing our robots on the test environment, and it's still everything fine. But then we are moving our robots to the production environment and it fails. That's why it's really important to have similar environments. So now I'd like to tell you something about the case studies. I mentioned it before, that we are using not only robots, but also we are using some OCR softwares or and machine learning models and machine learning algorithms. So a couple months ago, for Scania Poland, we've developed the virtual accountant robot, which uses the OCR system. In this particular case, we are not using AB, but different vendor. But I will tell you about this case based on AB Flexi Capture. So for the OCR, we are using AB Flexi Capture. Then for machine learning models, we are using external service which is called Applica AI, and as a robot we are using the UiPath software. So at the beginning of this process, we've got some input documents. In this case, there are two sources of the documents. First source is the scanner, where we are scanning, where the operator is scanning the document, and the second source is email, where the suppliers are sending the invoices that should be processed. Then the OCR software is processing and structurizing the data. Next step is the data verification. The next step is data interpretation using machine learning models, and the last step is invoice accounting using the robot. The robot is working as a manager of those all steps. So the first step is the data input. After this step, the OCR system is processing each document. In the application, there are templates created for this particular type of the document. So OCR is recognizing each document and each field of the document, like due date, sales date, invoice number, supplier number, VAT number, and so on. The next step of the process is the data verification. This step is made by operators. So the human intervention is required here on this steps, because even best OCR solutions can make some mistakes, and what is more important, the quality of the documents are not always perfect. So this is really important to have this step in the process. The next step is usage of the machine learning algorithm. So before we were able to implement the steps, we had to create learning data for our model, and this batch of learning data was prepared by accountants within the Scania. So we were able to use those data to teach our model how to process the documents. So in this steps, model is able to read each line of the invoice, and based on the line on the text on the line of the invoice, the model is making the decision which accounting dimensions should be applied for the invoice. And the last step of the process is data accounting and adding the invoice lines for each invoice. So robot is using prepared data after the OCR, after the machine learning, and the robot is applying the accounting dimensions for each invoice. I'd like to also tell you a couple of words about the benefits achieved on this implementation. So we are processing around 4,000 to 5,000 invoices per month, and return of the investment of this process was after 11 months. This is pretty important from the client perspective, but I think the more important is the improvement of the process. So we are not working only on the PDF documents, PDF invoices, but we are mostly working on the XML representation of the document. So we are reading, analyzing the documents, and applying some business rules, and our structurized data of the invoice is XML file. So the preparation of this kind of file, the structurizing of the invoice, takes around 90 seconds. The preparation of the posting line for each invoice takes around 45 seconds, and the full process from the scanning of the documents to processing the documents and sending it to final acceptance takes from 2 to 5 hours every day. And before implementation, it took around 5 days. So this is the biggest saving. I'd like to also mention the increase of the quality of the processing. So at the moment, the human involvement it's much lower than before the implementation. The next case I would like to tell you about, it's actually not our project, but I think it's pretty cool. Is the usage of the Google Cloud and Google Assistant service. Robots are able to use this kind of technology, and we are able to integrate the Google Assistant with our robots, and we are able to use Google Assistant as a interface between human and machine. So as you can see on the right, the person is saying to robot what actions should be performed, and on the left you can see the robot actions. So I think it's pretty cool. So the next case I'd like to show you is also using the UiPath and Google Cloud. In this case, robot is processing insurance claims. You will see in a moment that robot is able to analyze the images of crashed car. So here on the left, the user is logging into the system. It's selecting which car is crashed, describing some details, and on the right you can see what robot is doing. And in this case, robot is searching for the policy number, and user uploaded pictures, and now robot will analyze the pictures, and using some artificial intelligence algorithms, machine learning algorithms, robot is analyzing the damage of the car. Oh, here you can see something went wrong with the car. Robot is analyzing the data and filling the damage assessment report, filling all the data, and I think this is the important part. Oh, sorry. What I would like to show you is that here you can see the level of the damage of each part. So the robot is preparing the report and sending it via email. So it's huge saving of the human effort. And the last case I would like to show you is the usage of the robot with some legacy application. This process is also made for Scania in Poland, and as you can see, robot is able to work with some old terminal legacy application, and it's doing pretty well. What I wanted to show you with those cases is that only our imagination can limit the robots. So we could use the robots with modern techniques, with modern technologies such as OCR systems, machine learning algorithms, and other AI technologies. But robots can be also used with some old legacy applications. Okay, let's move on because we should start the Q&A session. So if you would like to start the robotization journey, what steps should be done? First step is let's talk. During the first step, you should prepare the company, the enterprise for the automation. If we could help you with this step, as I said, let's talk, let's have a meeting, and let's discuss the potentials. The second step is preparation of the POC or a proof of concept or pilot implementation of the robots. And then after the POC or pilot implementation, we are assessing the documents, and we are assessing the wider potential of the robotization within the organization. The next step is preparation of the strategy, the preparation of the robotization program within the organization, and the last step is the implementation of the factory of the bots in the organization. Okay, so that's all from my side. Thank you very much for all of you. And now there's a question and answer session. So if you have any questions, just don't hesitate to ask me. And what I can see, okay. The first question is, how is the RPA effective with automated guided vehicle? I'm not sure if I understand this question properly, but actually we are not able to use robotic process automation with any type of vehicles. As I said at the beginning, our robots are working only with the software, with the enterprise class software. So probably we are not able to use this kind of software with any types of vehicle. The next question is, what softwares and tools are easily integrated, and would they need Salesforce or another standalone software for integration? Okay, so using the bots, using the robots, we are able to use, for example, API integration with all types of software. We are also able to use direct queries to databases, and quite often external software or integration software is not required for the robots. The next question from Ronald is, how does the OCR part work? Do you need to set up profiles per document, supplier, or does it learn automatically? Okay, so this is good question. So for example, using AB software, there is a dedicated solution for invoices, which is called Flexi Capture for invoices. But when we are creating, of course, we can create our own templates using the OCR, and we don't need to create separated template for each supplier, for example. We should create the type of the documents. For example, if we are processing the insurance forms, we need to define fields which are required, or fields which are mandatory, and we don't need to prepare like separated form for each vendor. and it also has some artificial machine learnings techniques which helps to learn the templates automatically as well. Okay, the next questions: are there any security issues when bots are logging into ERP with employee login credentials, and how to handle it? So during the implementation, we recommend to use separated accounts for the robots. So we will know that robot is logging into the systems. So we are not recommending to use users credentials. And how to handle it? We of course we don't need to have hard-coded login and password in the robot code. If we are using, for example, with UiPath, if we are using orchestrator, we can store logins and passwords in assets within the orchestrator. Or if you are using, for example, attended bots, there is something which is called Microsoft feature is something which is called Vault or something like this, and there you can store your credentials, and robot is able to use those credentials. The next question: is it worth taking for small trading company? The answer is it depends. It depends on the processes. Even if in small trading company you've got processes with huge volume of the transactions, it's always good to consider automation. The next one from Anish: can bots function on standard user licenses of popular ERP systems, because bots can do multiple transactions per second? So, for example, if we are considering automation using SAP ERP system, there is required to enable scripting on the server side, and as far as I know, it requires additional license for the scripting. But we are also using other types of ERP systems, and other types of ERP system doesn't have any limitations for the robots. Okay, so the next one: after analyzing automation potential, do you propose other solutions rather than RPA, as you mentioned at the beginning? Yes, for sure. Sometimes it happens that we are considering some process as a good candidate for the automation, but we are analyzing the process, and we can figure out that it is possible to use, for example, API integration, or some integration between two processes instead of robotization. I had this kind of situation that we had one process candidate, and the main task of the robot should be to move data from one system to another. And we found out that there is well-prepared integration between those systems. So we recommended to our customer that it's better and faster and cheaper to use this kind of integration instead of robot. And the integration is much easier to maintain and to support. Okay, so the last one: we consider using OCR on other documents than invoices, less structure. Can it be used there similar of invoices? Yes, it can be used if those kind of documents has any type of structure. By structure, I even mean if we are able to find fields or data which is interesting for us based on some keywords or sentences or location of the field. We can also use this kind of documents with OCR. So it's not only for the invoices, but for example, if you would like to analyze the contracts, which are like full text documents, we can recommend the Applica solution. They have like well prepared solution to read and understand and get the context of the full text for the documents. So there are solutions for this type of documents. Let me see. Those are all questions on the Q&A. Let me see what's going on the chat. Okay, what I can see, all the questions from chat were already answered. So again, thank you for your participation. What I can see that we are recording this webinar, so for sure we will be able to share it with you. So thank you for your participation, and have a nice day. If you will have any further questions, don't hesitate to email me or to contact me via LinkedIn. So take care and have a nice day.